Good morning, dear children. Let us continue our chapter in a tunnel, which is written by Edith Nesbit. In the previous class, we studied the experience of the person when he or she is inside the train or walking on its feet and passing through the tunnel. Okay. Now let's continue what happened further. In the beginning, when we studied about the background of the story, we came to know that 3 children entered into the tunnel to find out what had happened to the last boy who was wearing red jersey. He entered into the tunnel but did not come out. Clear? Let's see how they entered into the tunnel and what was their experience. Okay, let's start the chapter, page number 97. It was not yet quite dark in the tunnel when Phyllis caught Bobby's skirt, ripping out half a yard of gathers, but no one noticed this at the time. These 3 children were Phyllis, Bobby and Peter. You can see here in the picture 2 girls. This younger one is Phyllis, elder one is Bobby, and that boy is Peter. They all are brothers and sisters. And then when these 3 children entered into the tunnel, it was not much dark. Okay, it was not yet quite dark. It was not completely dark because they just started entering into it. Clear? So when Phyllis caught Bobby's skirt, Phyllis was holding Bobby's skirt, ripping out half a yard of gathers, and she was just moving forcefully. She was moved forcefully. Okay, by this Bobby was just pulling her forcefully, and this Phyllis was very much afraid. She was not willing to enter into the tunnel. I want to go back, she said. I don't like it. It will be pitch dark in a minute. I won't go on in the dark. I don't care what you say, I won't. Then this Phyllis was not agree at all to go forward, to enter into the tunnel. She was very much afraid. She was denying to go there. She said that she don't care. She doesn't want to go inside. In a few minutes it will be completely dark when they will reach in the middle of the tunnel. Don't be a silly cuckoo, said Peter. I have got a candle end and matches, and what's that? And then Peter he consoled her. He said that he is having the candle end, means the small piece of the candle, and matches with him, the matchsticks he is having, but that was nothing for Phyllis, because she was very much afraid. And Peter said, what is the matter? What is the problem? We are already having candle and matchstick, so need not to be worried. That was a low humming sound on the railway line, trembling of the wires beside it, a buzzing, humming sound that grew louder and louder as they listened. When these 3 children were inside the tunnel, they could hear the humming, buzzing sound of the train. The train was approaching close to them. The train was moving forward. The train was entering inside the tunnel. It's a train, said Bobby. Which line? Let me go back, cried Phyllis, struggling to get away from the hand by which Bobby held her. Then when Phyllis came to know that it's a train is coming inside the tunnel, she was very much afraid. She just tried to leave her hand and run away from there. She wanted to go out of the tunnel. Don't be a coward, said Bobby. It's quite safe, stand back. Then Bobby scolded her, "Don't be coward, don't be afraid. It's quite safe, no problem being here in the tunnel." "Come on," shouted shouted Peter, who was a few yards ahead. "Quick, manhole." Then Peter called them and he said that there is a manhole. Manhole is a resting place for a worker. It is an arc shape so that when laborers are working on the railway track and train passes through that way, that time these laborers can take rest in that manhole, so they will be safe. Okay, here in the picture you can see, even in the picture you can see here the space, the hollow space is given. That is called the manhole. The roar of the advancing train was now louder than the noise you hear when your head is under water in the bath and both taps are running and you are kicking with your heels against the bath's tin sides. Now see here the comparison is made. The sound of the train is being compared with when a person is inside the bathroom. In the bathtub, both the taps are on and you are struggling to come out or not willing to take bath and you are just kicking on the bathtub. That sound is being compared with the sound of the train. Here the author says that the sound of the train was louder than the sound you make in the bathroom. Clear? But Peter had shouted for all he was worth and Bobby had heard him. She dragged Phyllis along to the manhole. Peter was shouting, he was calling them to be inside the manhole. Then Bobby just pulled this Phyllis and took her to the manhole. Phyllis, of course, stumbled over the wires and grazed both her legs. Now as she was forced by Bobby's to move, she was stumbled over the wire. These wires were meant to connect signals to control cabins. Okay, beside the railway track there were wires and these wires were meant to make signals to the control room, and she stumbled over them. Stumbled means tripped over them. Beta ठोकर लग जाना किसी चीज से. Okay, and grazed both her legs. Grazed means to scrap or break the skin. चोट लगना या खरोच लगना. Okay, but they dragged her in and all three stood in the dark, damp arch races while the train roared louder and louder. These three children, finally they could take Phyllis also with them to the manhole, and all these three were standing inside the manhole, which was very dark, very damp. Damp means full of moisture, okay, slightly wet. And arch races. Arch is this shape. Clear? This semicircle shape we can say arch races. And while the train roared louder and louder as train was advancing, this moving train was making louder and louder noise. And okay, it seemed as if it would deafen them. The sound of the train was increasing every moment, and it seemed that it will deafen them. They will lose the power of hearing. And in the distance, they could see its eyes of fire growing bigger and brighter every instant, and every moment its eyes of fire, it said, for the lights of the engine were growing bigger and brighter. Means train was coming very close to them. It is a dragon. I always knew it was. It takes its own shape in here in the dark, shouted Phyllis. Phyllis said, it's not a train, it's a dragon. And it has taken the shape of the train in the dark. So she was very much afraid. But nobody heard her. Why they did not hear? Because the sound of the train was much louder than the sound of this girl Phyllis. You see, the train was shouting too, and its voice was bigger than hers. Okay, then, and now with a rush and roar and a rattle and a long dazzling flash of lighted carriage windows, a smell of smoke and blast of hot air, the train hurtled by, clanging and jangling and echoing in the vaulted roof of the tunnel. And now they could see the rush and roar, the sound of the train, and the rattle means the metallic sound, and a long dazzling flash means extremely bright light, okay, of lighted carriage. The carriage of the train were full of light, okay, there were lights inside the carriage. A smell of smoke and blast of hot air. This blast of hot air due to as it was the steam engine, and there was smoke and very hot air. The train hurtled by. Hurtle means move at high speed. The train was moving at high speed, clanging and jangling. It was making the harsh metallic sounds and echoing in the vaulted roof of the tunnel. Vaulted means arched roof. Arched means this shape. In the arched, vaulted roof means arched roof of the tunnel. The train was just inside the tunnel right now. Phyllis and Bobby clung to each other. Clung means they holded each other's hand tightly. Even Peter caught hold of Bobby's arm. People was also holding Bobby's arm in case she should be frightened. He thought in case Bobby should be frightened, as he explained afterwards. Afterwards in the story, he explained how Bobby was afraid. And now, slowly and gradually, the tail lights grew smaller and smaller, and so did the noise. Now, the train was going out of the tunnel. And we know when we see the train from far, we can see this kind of shape. It becomes like tail at the end, isn't it? If you have noticed, the train at the end looks like a tail. Okay, so the tail lights grew smaller. This light of the train grew smaller, and the sound also reduced, because now train was about to leave the tunnel and go away. Till with the last whiz, the train got itself out of the tunnel. Last whiz means hissing sound. Here we can say the whistling. Okay, whistling sound, whistle of the train. Okay, with that last whistle, the train was out of the tunnel, and silence settled again on its damp walls and dripping roofs. And again there was complete silence inside the tunnel sorry, on its damp walls. Damp walls means slightly wet walls or full of moisture, and dripping roofs. Dripping means drops of liquids on the walls due to the moisture. So I hope the chapter is clear to everyone. And dear children, if you get the book Railway Children in the library or somewhere, you can just read that book. It's very interesting story. In detail you can read. So I hope the chapter is clear. Dear children, you have to write down the question answers of this chapter, word meanings, and exercise 2 of comprehension also in your copy, and later on I will tell you if any other exercise you are supposed to write in the copy. So go through this chapter, read it at least 4 or 5 times and try to understand it. Thank you.